know, President Obama has just touched down in New York. An hour from now, he is set to deliver a speech on Wall Street, 1 year to the day after the fall of Lehman Brothers. The president likely will talk about regulatory reform he says is needed to prevent another financial collapse and restore faith, basically, in Wall Street. Somebody who's not on the same page as the president when it comes to economic reform is Republican Senator Jim DeMint of South Carolina. Joins us in the studio. Senator, good to have you here with us.
Jane, good to be with you.
We expect the president to say that the government support of the financial industry that we've seen over the last year was necessary and that it also is temporary. Your thoughts?
I hope it is temporary. You can't solve a problem if you don't know what caused it. And so far, the president and members of Congress have not recognized the role that government played in this downfall. Certainly Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and that involvement in securitizing these toxic assets were key to the problem. And an abnormally low interest rates were the result, well, encouraged over leverage. So there's a role the government played that we haven't agreed to fix. Certainly there are a number of things that we can do to make the financial industry work better. But so far the president has blamed this on capitalism and free markets, when in fact I think it's mostly the result of bad government policy.
What about this idea of more power to the Fed?
No, I don't think we need any more centralized power. We do need a good system, a regulatory system that is enforceable and understandable. Right now, the SEC is so bureaucratic, so big, that I don't think they can even enforce their own rules. So we've created a burdensome system that obviously doesn't work. So more regulation is not necessarily going to solve the problem. We just need smarter regulation.
You know, you have a book out called Saving Freedom, and I know you talk about how government is not the answer. And you claim in this book we are sliding in this country towards socialism. What do you mean? Well,
when the government owns or controls a large part of your economic activity, that is socialism. And many people are concerned. I think we had over 250,000 people in Washington last Saturday who were concerned about the spending, the debt, the taxes, the government takeovers, and people are just alarmed at what we're doing. And so Saving Freedom it reminds people that the principles of the freedom made this country great, and it tells them what we can do to keep it.
But we expect the president today to make the case that there was a huge outlay of money, obviously, in the past 12 months, but he also contained the panic. We see our economic system still working in this country.
I think it would still be working. Now, some can make a case that we flooded the banks with money and it avoided a run on the banks. It could have. We'll never know. But we do know the money was not used the way it was intended, which was to buy up toxic assets. So clearly the Treasury made some promises. They did not use the money that way. They used it another way. Perhaps it helped allay some problems. But we've got to stop these bailouts and government intervention. I think the president is wrong. We cannot centrally manage our economy, and we need to figure out ways to pull the government back from all of this involvement in the banking sector.
Interesting, when you're talking about spending in your book, you're as hard on Republicans in some cases as you are on Democrats.
And even harder in some cases, because Republicans are supposed to know better. And unfortunately, there's still a few Republicans in Congress who are spending and supporting new government programs, and we need to listen to what America is saying. They think we're out of control. I think we're out of control. We need to stop the spending, bailouts, borrowing, and stop this incredible debt that we're putting on our children.
One last question I want to ask you about health care before we let you go. This idea of government-run health care, a public option. You know, you might say at this point it sounds like it's on life support. The White House has certainly changed its tone on whether this would be a deal breaker for them or not. You consider that a victory?
Well, Saving Freedom is about a better way to have health care for every American. I hope the government takeover is on ice at this point. I hope the president will stop pushing this and sit down and talk to us. But Jane, so far the only thing he's been willing to talk about is what kind of government plan we're going to have.
Now, he says his door is open for serious proposals.
Well, his door hasn't been open to any Republican since April.
Have you tried to walk through it?
I don't think I'm going to be invited to the White House. But maybe he'll hold a beer summit or something over the health care bill, and we'll all go over and talk it up. But no, this is really too serious to handle the way it's been handled. And there are some real good free market solutions, such as tort reform, interstate competition, fair tax treatment, things that just about everyone knows would help the system work better. I'm afraid, Jane, that they're trying to kill the current system so they can replace it with a government system.
We will hear from the president a little under an hour from now. Senator Jim DeMint, Republican of South Carolina. Thank you for being here. Looks like a